This isn't going to get into hyper-specific details about the game. I really don't wish to overload my work schedule by going into long tangents and observations of obscure ideas in writing. Instead, this will be a general review with scores from each category. Soundtrack, sound design, 9 out of 10. I know this sounds like shade at first, but work with me here when I state this. The OST is the weakest part of the game. However, let the score itself remind you that this does not mean the OST overall is a bad discography. If anything, it is indicative of how monstrous and incredible this game is. I have so many tracks I do love from this game, but sadly not only do I have a couple of tracks I dislike, but in my opinion suffers from where it's placed. Some discount kids TV music fucking plays during certain boss fights, and it takes me out of the experience. It occasionally suffers from a similar problem as the OG Neptunia did with its soundtrack. Solid music, but poorly placed and could work if placed elsewhere. Again, some of the tracks are ones that will not only live rent-free in my head, but rather that I will pay to live in my brain. Here's looking at you, Requiem of Blood and Iron. Visual design. Score breaker 12 out of 10. I know it's normally cheap and lazy to score break, let alone do it twice like I'm doing in this review. However, the visual designs are so impressively composited that it puts anything not named Doom Eternal to shame. Foul Flame Mother Effing Palace. Every city design, to a lesser extent, the dungeon designs. When you invest your passion to the max and use every development team member's talents to good use, you can accomplish ludicrous goals in life. It's impressive, and it's hard to put into words how ridiculously it outclasses a lot of games today. I say a lot, not most or all, for disclaimer. Just note that because a lot of the older games in comparison to newer games does not mean I don't have modern games I like as well. Just that I wish a lot of these older, obscure, niche games gets the acclaim they deserve. I can't wait for Every. Speaking of ridiculously high scores, overall story / world building, score breaker 12 out of 10. This one is the last of this video, I swear, but it's difficult to explain why this score is warranted. Some basic thoughts come to mind. Number 1, the exoskeleton of the story is a rich, in-depth presentation of a war drama thriller. It's filled with just political intrigue and theming that would do Kojima proud. 2, the flesh, meat, and potatoes are the integral bonding events and general standard daily life of students. One without the other leaves a massive gaping hole that the other side cannot cover for. The bonding moments and slice of life moments are what makes losing characters or seeing betrayals hurt so much. However, without the war drama arc, there's no excusing such a long playthrough time. Not to mention it would make the entire thing a directionless visual novel. 4, on top of which, the cities and towns have vibrant, enjoyable characters, even if some of the quests were a bit silly. Speaking of which, gameplay, 10 out of 10. Don't get me wrong, this game's mechanics aren't pure score-breaking perfection. There are certain parts I don't agree with, such as zero R's and other effects being too random or too pointless. But at the same time, the system is so robust that it puts every other JRPG to shame. Not just for two-layering the magic systems, not just for the ability to chain each character's special craft, not just for its robust and vast quartz and master quartz system, not just for its aura break system with crafts. All of it put together is such presentation in depth that it's almost high concept or a higher hurdle to clear. It proves that JRPGs can be filled with complexity, that you don't need to switch up your general creative vision of your JRPG to follow ARPG trends to modernize, quote unquote, which never turn out well. But also, lastly, that more than 74% of you who watch my videos should probably subscribe to my YouTube channel today. Impeccable shelling aside, I have mostly positive and glowing things to say about the mechanics. Lastly, characters, 10 out of 10. I know I often spent time ranting about the flaws of characters, but never forget, ladies and gentlemen, that anger and annoyance are a form of investment. If that anger and investment get you there, they are doing the job right. It is not hate that is the antithesis to love. It is indifference. Not a single moment of my experience did I feel apathetic or disconnected. This game invested me in a way and made me feel feelings in a way like how I felt about first starting Hyperdimension Neptunia as a franchise. Just that the characters are far more competently written and so far do not make me want to give up on them, Unlike Neptunia, where certain nothing burger games to games I find deeply offending by having diluted my enjoyment of. Overall, I give it a goated game breaker score. Trails of Cold Steel 1 is a classic, and it is irreplaceable to me. I never expected to fall so hard for this game and its series. It wasn't even in my radar proper until roughly the middle of the year when a buddy played it. I regret fucking nothing. This game is one you'll fall for at first sight. You can take that to the bank, my Iron Bloods. Now I'm going to head on out. Thanks for watching, and remember that my will is absolute.